especially now, which I believe that we've been hearing about talent and the emerging technologies through this conference. So I'm hoping that our panel is going to be very enthusiastically watched and advice enthusiastically taken. Because I have some great panelists with some lovely ideas. So the first one I'd like to introduce is Mahesh Krishnamurthy. He is the Chief Business Officer of Mahindra Integrated Business Solutions, which is a Mahindra Group company. He has delivered 15x revenue growth in the last 5 years while keeping the company profitable with zero debt funding. Mahesh, I think you're ready for another type of panel, not apart from the skilling one. He's a chartered accountant with over 2 decades of experience in banking, financial services, and the IT/ITES sector. He has been in various leadership roles of business development, consulting, risk compliance, and technology. And best of all, which I like, is he is an avid trainer and has been a guest faculty with many prestigious institutions. So he really gets the topic of this panel. Welcome, Mahesh.
Thanks a lot, Kirti. My pleasure to be here.
The next one I have is MVS Subramanian, known as MVS Money. So Money is a serial entrepreneur and a well-known lead angel investor on the Indian Angel Network, with some of his invested startups on their way to being unicorn. He is the managing director of Future Focus Infotech, a leading IT consulting and staffing enterprise. He's a member of NASSCOM National SME Council and member of NASSCOM Tamil Nadu Regional Council. He's a director of Native Lead, a social impact venture to promote entrepreneurship among Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Mani, your experience is going to be valuable in this panel because you're looking at it from so many different ways.
Thank you.
He's received the CII Mentor of the Year 2020 award from the Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mani. And last but not the least, my friend, Mr. Maulik Bhansali, is a co-founder and CEO of NetWeb Software. He is NASSCOM's National SME Council member and leads several NASSCOM activities for IT/ITES SMEs across Western India. He's also the chairman and director of Gujarat Electronics and Software Industries Association, also called GASIA, IT Association. He is on board of the Board of Studies and Board of Management with several known universities. He's a frequent speaker at several professional and educational institutions and is a mentor to many young entrepreneurs. And personally, I will say there is no better champion for the talent agenda than Maulik, always such an enthusiastic participant and supporter. Welcome, Maulik. So I just thought I will set a little context, which I'm sure we've all heard about, but at the risk of being repetitive, technology used to be an enabler, but the pandemic, if nothing else, I think the pandemic has made technology the business. Digital fluency is something that everyone needs to acquire because technology underpins any innovation or solutions being designed today. There's been a great reset that is impacting human capital decisions. People are reskilling, building, they are buying talent, they're buying companies that have talent, they're investing in upskilling, or they are reinventing jobs, they are repurposing people and trying to make the best use of technology and the new ways of working. And that was really the rationale for the Future Skills Prime platform that went live just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm really proud to have been part of that moment to actually design it and make it go live. You must have all heard of the Future Skills platform that was launched in 2018 by NASSCOM, by the industry rather, but NASSCOM, is comprised of the IT industry. And the government basically said, if you're doing this for yourselves, why aren't you doing this for the country? So it was not a challenge, but it was a MOU that signaled the partnership between the government and NASSCOM. And it's the first of its kind partnership between the government and private enterprise to bring a skilling platform to the country. So I would urge you to go to www.futureskillsprime.in. We are a NASSCOM conclave. We are all NASSCOM members. This is our platform. This is something we have brought to the country, and you can feel sufficiently proud at what a lovely resource is available for all professionals, students, representatives of government, teachers. It doesn't matter who you are. Please leverage it. And for the SMEs whose conclave we are at, the winds of change are probably blowing harder and faster. They are all going to get impacted. Business as usual will change. Talent as usual will change. All research is pointing to the fact that emerging technologies disrupt the way of work. The war for talent is underway. So how does this talent demand supply gap impact SMEs? How are they coping with the short shelf life of technologies that people have to continuously update themselves? Otherwise, you're in danger of being irrelevant. It's a great panel that I have with tremendous years of experience. I had a pre-panel conversation with them, and I don't think we're going to have enough time to cover everything, but I'll try. So my first question is really to Mani, where I want to ask him that with the need to be cross-functional and understanding everything, we at NASSCOM started using the term digital fluency, where we said a person may not be technically proficient, but he must be or she must be aware of all the what these disruptive technologies are and what they can do. First off, do you think this is useful? Is digital fluency useful? Is it required?
Yeah, something which is one of the subject which is very close to my company too, because I was practicing how this digital fluency has to be adapted inside the company. The reason is, even if I have to recruit somebody as a recruiter, I say that they have to be present in Instagram, LinkedIn, they have to be very active, they should be able to access everything to mobile. That is the level by which even the recruitment has been looked at, even how the digitally they are fluent, so that they come inside the company. They should be able to adapt whatever we do inside the organization. I divide this into 2 or 3 areas for the easy understanding. For example, if you say digital awareness has to be there for everyone in the organization, irrespective of the function. I do not know, is there any function which is not been impacted by digital? It is very doubtful. And if the one function is not being digital, the whole slowness settles in the company for various reasons. The second one is a digital fluency. Very specifically, I use this term fluency for CEOs and the sales teams, the people on the front who are looking at the customer. The reason is, I myself am not a technical person, but if I don't understand the technology, I will not be able to provide solutions to the customer. So I cannot engage with the customer nowadays, because everybody is hearing something and they ask us, are you doing this? Can you provide this solution and all those? And the sales team who are in the front, if they are unable to even talk this language, I don't think they can be in the sales. Irrespective of whether they meet a technology company or they meet a non-technology company for any solution, they are aware of every organization. The CIO is looking for some solution digitally. That is what they have. Any company, any organization to that extent. Then you have this digital expertise which we have to build it. That is where the future skills comes into play. We have to build a digital expertise inside the organization, and that is actually growing much faster than what we can learn about, right? So many things are coming up newly, and the people have to adapt it, and they have to create expertise inside the organization. Above all these things, most difficult thing or most needed thing is the company should have practicing this digital implementation, and the experience should be given to the existing, existing employees, that they come inside the company has to provide this digital experience. Then they start thinking about it. The whole ecosystem has changed outside, but we in the company have not changed. Then it is difficult for us to face the world. I think I'll stop here probably and take it up further.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect segue to my question to Maulik, because with all this ecosystem changing, all this digital transformation happening, how are SME organizations managing this, Maulik? You're on mute. Maybe you can take off your headset if that's causing the confusion. No. Okay.
Take the headset. Let there be a little echo. No problem.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll go to Mahesh while Maulik's audio is coming on. I want to leave that question with Maulik, but I'll come back to Mahesh to say that whenever, when we are discussing access to talent, there is this whole question of affordability and choice for SMEs. So what do you look for in this whole world, the way it is changing outside and the way it is changing inside? What do you look for when you're hiring talent?
So, Kirti, a very, very relevant point because SMEs, unlike the large corporates, really do not have that kind of affordability and the ability to keep a bench, the ability to invest a lot of money in talent acquisition. And of course, in any SME organization, I'm sure the attendees of the event would also agree with me if they are from the SME community. For us, everyone wears more than one hat, including right from the leadership team to the last resource at the bottom of the pyramid. Everyone wears multiple hats because that's how an SME slowly grows over a period of time. To be very frank, what kind of talent do we look at? I would pick up something from what Manish sir just said. We pick up anyone who is tech literate and tech savvy. And today, almost everyone in the hiring population or the age group into which we pick up the talents from know how to operate a computer, know how to operate a mobile, know how to operate a tab, an iPad. So that is the basic literacy we look at. And of course, some knowledge of applications like Microsoft Office. And then, of course, the higher end applications or maybe the ERP is something which we need to train them on. So affordability drives innovation to a large extent. And that's why you'll also see that in the talent pool, in the multi-skilling, in the digital literacy, you'll find that SMEs are moving much faster than the larger corporates. And of course, future skills will definitely add value to whatever we are trying to look at.
I think this was a comment that had been made when the program went live, and the MeitY secretary said that we are an IT superpower, but if we want to stay there, we have to take this advantage that we already have and take it to the next level, because otherwise we are in danger of being left behind. So if I were to go back to money, you mentioned that across the organization, people need to be digitally fluent. But whether it is functions like HR or whether it is finance, whether it is leadership, what advice do you have for leaders in this fast-changing, digitally transforming world?
So primarily that it is an experience what you give inside the organization. See, if I am not in the LinkedIn, I am not very active in the Facebook. Believe me that even this digital meetings, what we have, if we are not familiar and if we do not know how to do that, then I think our employees doesn't change or they do not intend to change also. For example, we have initiated certain activity even 3-4 years back, and it takes longer time for the changes to happen inside the organization. I'm little above the size organization, we are around the 3,000 employees, but still the changes which have to be brought out and the culturally what we have to do takes longer time. Please involve everyone in the organization, in every function, to do hackathons inside the company and make them literate in what a technology can do for their own function. This is very important communication, and it has to be done with an employee engagement program so that everybody feels that they are contributing to that exercise. The last one, which is on learning skills, I think it should be part of our exercise in appraisal, that we have to say that you have to learn something and come back every quarter. That is your responsibility. Because when I recruit people, I recruit them for the skills what they have. Can I send them out if they do not carry over the skills which is required for the future? It is not possible, right? So we wanted to give them an engagement platform saying that you go learn further, come back, and we will consider it in your next appraisals. And every quarter, you just encourage them to learn and exchange them with other teams. When we are able to implement certain small changes which is suggested by somebody, they'll be very happy, they'll promote. This is how we have to take it inside a small and medium organization so that it can grow as a culture inside the organization. This will actually reflect outside.
I think what you're saying is very valid. You can give people a resource, but until your processes are actually geared to driving them to show that they have added value to themselves, people will just take it as a given and not really do much about it. I think that's really practical advice about culture. Walk the talk and drive your performance system towards that. Maulik, do we have you back now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we do. Great. So okay. I will now ask you the question that I've been reserving for you.
Okay.
Which is that with this digitally transformed world and having SMEs having to become digitally fluent, talent gap, how are SME organizations coping?
Well, that's a really very important question. I know, and I heard Mahesh mentioning earlier, which is people need to be multi-skilled, right? And upgrading their skills is also so much important as part of their growth roadmap, and therefore helping in one or the other way in retention and, of course, control of attrition in a way. And identifying key people or some people to be skilled and training them, and then in turn further training others through peer mentoring is being followed a lot. Now, peer mentoring is, of course, it takes considerable time before skills are adequately learned, but I think it does very effectively help in spreading general understanding of digital skills in a very cost-effective manner, and to be able to ready your workforce for upskilling further. And I'm sure, therefore, a platform like NESSCOM's Future Skills Prime can be of great help. On the other hand, finding right skills is very steep task. I mean, especially for SMEs. Leave alone SMEs alone. But for emerging technologies, for digital technologies, even for big ones, any size of businesses that you talk about, finding right skill task. But it is important to identify right talent or developable talent at least, and then skill them, right? So many SMEs have now realized that the way of identification of talent, as my friend Mani mentioned earlier, has now changed. And what we need to understand is we need problem solvers, and we need people who are digital savvy. And one can train them, or they can self-learn. And after having them on board, again, having skilling platforms like Future Skills Prime can be of huge help. Talent is identified by means of hackathon and so on. This is especially true for emerging technologies and digital skills, as you do not find such skills so easily. One can even partner with startups, and I think working with them also helps huge. And we have seen some industries doing that as well very effectively. Temp hiring is increasing huge. Organizations are realizing that they need access to some high-skilled professionals, but for a limited period of time. And this is especially true for digital technologies like, AI, digital data engineering, and NLP, and so on. I mean, this is interesting because the one hand you have need of digital literacy, and now, of course, digital transformation disrupting everything, including workplace, and critical element is people. And unless we have them digitally really literate and aware, the next growth or the next move is certainly very challenging and difficult.
So I'm going to be a little provocative and ask an out-of-syllabus question. I have not discussed this with you, but based on what you have just said, and based on what my experience shows, that it's that fable that says you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So we can provide all the resources available to people, yet we find they don't learn. What can we do to, even if they don't understand the importance of keeping themselves up to date and relevant, what can we do to drive people to use what has been provided to them?
Well, it's about... Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, to Maulik.
Yeah, okay. It's the culture that we're talking in a way, okay? And I think it has to start from the top. You have to make it rewarding, of course, to make it more attractive for people to learn and to really grow furthermore. But it's a cultural thing which has to come really top down from the leadership in terms of how do you even develop digital leadership in a way, and then taking it forward in every function of the business across. But it has to be rewarding. One has to really help employees find out their aspirations, and of course map with the business objectives, and therefore the roadmap in terms of what milestones that really one need to be going through to be able to reach. Let's say someone wanting to be a UX designer, for example, which is a very important skill these days when we talk about digital literacy, right? But how do you even get there? I mean, putting someone and asking someone, that here it is, a resource for you, go and become a UX designer now. Does that work? It doesn't really. I mean, how do you really therefore make your business objectives more visible to your people and map their objectives along with this? And therefore, again, any assessment tool that really we can bring on board and also can help us to chart that map for the individual as well as for the business to really take along will be of great help. It's a cultural thing, but can be helped a lot by putting in practices and platforms like Future Skills, in my opinion. I really look forward to see that change happening rapidly.
So the interesting thing is there is a set of courses on Future Skills called Digital Leadership. So what I'm hearing you and Mani say is that we should first get all the CEOs of all SMEs and their top leadership to go through those programs and say, this is how you need to develop digital skills.
I couldn't agree more, Kirti, because it has to start, and that understanding has to be there. Literacy has to start from there. Thank you.
Mahesh, both Mani and Maulik talked about culture and the role of R&R in driving skilling initiatives. What is your sense? Why I'm taking this line of thought is that we have three very experienced people on this panel. We need to leave this panel with some takeaways. What is the advice that we can give people that they can really go and implement on the ground to drive skilling in their organizations? So what is your take on this?
So, Kirti, if you ask me very frankly, you look at any SME, it's typically driven by one leader to maybe 4 people. So any SME doesn't have like a corporate 15, 20 people who are driving it. Largely it is 1 or 2, maybe at best 4. And each one of these people are wearing multiple hats when it comes to functions. So someone is a CEO plus a CFO, someone is a CEO plus head HR, someone is a CEO plus a product person. And if you see most of the IT SMEs, it's typically the CEO who's also the product head, who's also the, you could say, the lead for the IT initiatives of the organization. And today, no more is technology and no more is going digital innovation. It's more of a hygiene factor.
Yes.
So in today's world, you can't survive with a post and a telegram and a pager. You can't even survive with a button phone. You have to go to a smartphone. So if people don't move, they become redundant. But yes, of course, we need to drive people. We need to motivate people. We need to encourage people to move up. To give you a simple example, which I've quoted in a couple of panels earlier as well, 2 years back when we were introducing robotic process automation in our organization, one of my team members from the accounts team actually came up to me and said, sir, you're talking about implementing robotic process automation in our company, but we don't have space to keep 2 robots. So she actually thought that it's going to be like a Rajnikant movie, a robo who's going to come and sit beside her and do the function. So now that can't even talk about digital literacy. So that is educating the people. Now today, of course, she understands and she has at least 5-6 processes which runs on RPA. So you have to encourage them to learn, but at the same time also make them realize it's not only R&R. R&R is one part of it, but they also need to realize that if they don't pick it up, then they are going to become redundant. So it's a threat for each one of us, whether I'm the CEO of the company or I'm probably an accounts clerk. It's not just R&R, it's not just motivation, it's not just encouraging them. And to answer your question, taking the horse to the water, but the horse has to drink. The horse doesn't have a choice today. And Future Skills, if I subscribe to in an organization and I say, hey, it's a nice platform, it's fantastic, and today a good part of it is free of cost as well. But if the people are not sensitized that you need to go into it, and that I will give you an Amazon voucher or that I'll give you a candy, is not going to help. They need to realize that they need to actually move in that direction, else they are redundant.
But this is putting a lot of pressure on, you said 1 people to 4 people who are running the organization. There are no dedicated L&D departments. So driving this change puts a lot of pressure on leadership. So Mani, what happens then? I mean, who is driving this?
No, I think I have to give a little more introduction for me to talk my point of view. The reason is we are also known as future focused, like future skills. We are in the talent space where we wanted to acquire talent from outside and give it to a company like Malik or Mr. Mahesh. And that is one of our business. And we operate in different countries like Middle East and we are also partners to many digital products which we sell outside. So given this as a background and myself getting from moving out from SME, now I have a partner, Japanese partner, who says that don't get involved directly into the business, you just be there. But still, I cannot keep quiet. So I take new projects to run it. All these new projects are in digital. Given this is a thought process, we have to get engaged on the level and then communicate continuously. But my recommendation or my suggestion will be, see, what is the gap today is even my employee comes back and says that I'm digitally qualified. My HR may not be able to appreciate what is the score what she is in. So if the future skills can provide a scoring platform, which the score can be directly plugged into my what you call HR thing, they can just learn something, come back to the score and then put it there. Every quarter you'll be able to add on to it. More than that, even the company has to be a digitally fluent company. They should also have some score. Oh, companies, how many people are there, what they are, how the CEO is. Just make it as a gamified. Don't codify them saying that, okay, they are the best, they are the worst. Just make it as if that they can go and then promote themselves. They are in this zone, like green zone or gray zone, whatever you choose. And that is the second thing which we have to do. Third one, which we wanted to promote to the colleges, that is very key for us to get more resources. We have to assign mentors to go to the colleges and talk about whatever they learn. We should have sessions every month to share what the use cases are and provide them some use cases from the SME side. SME companies, if they wanted to have more talent generated, their participation in the institution becomes very, very key, and it can be done along with the future skills. Future skills has to promote this, so that they have an advantage. You can give some credit for that, so that they can use some of the courses for you. And this will actually roll the whole thing for us to look at how the country itself can build on the future skills.
Yeah. Malik, I'm going to come to you. We're going to be running out of time soon. So I know you have some thoughts around exactly what Mani talked about working with colleges, building the frameworks.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think for SMEs to understand this, and it's about building the new pool of skilled digital people, right? And you need to identify. We must understand who these potential people are, employees are, where they can be found, how they can be attracted and can be retained. Again, it's about creating a true digital culture across the business, inculcating in employees a deep understanding of companies' digital objectives and at least basic understanding of skills across different functions like digital business, demonstrating leadership. Again, I will really refer that very strongly. Second, for example, digital marketing. So building digital content, manage digital brand, digital development. So think about agile teams, for example, UX designers, for example, analytics. So, for example, BI specialists or data scientists and so on, and automation engineers. When we talk about Industry 4.0 or IoT engineers, these are the basic skills which are required for the existing workforce. A core team can be put together to be able to really do this and put in a structure for peer learning. Because it is again about creating digital culture. Now, to be able to do this, it has to be cost effective. There has to be flexibility built into entire learning process and awareness process. And there has to be a roadmap and access to assessment tools, which then becomes guiding path to reach to capability. right? So a platform like Future Skills can help huge. And I think that's where, again, industry and academia can come together when you have inductions which are happening. And there is a point which is where you have project trainees or interns who come to you to kind of start working as you recruit from the colleges, and how colleges and universities can engage with academia, with the industries to work together to be able to really build these skills as they get employed. And I think that is the point which I believe should be jointly be worked. And if Future Skills can really work on that piece well, can help or facilitate well, I think that's a great win-win situation for all, in my opinion.
So I think the good news that I can say is that, while the platform has been built and people will use it or not, the basic framework on which it has been built is something that NASSCOM and SSC NASSCOM have been working on for years. To Mani's point, where he talked about, what are these skills and what are these roles, what are these frameworks, what are these assessments. So actually this whole framework is available. There is a very nice occupational standard framework which talks about various roles. It lists out the skills that are required. In fact, people pay a lot of money to companies for building competency frameworks. They don't need to do that. NASSCOM has it, and you as members of NASSCOM can leverage it. So this resource is available for you to make your job roles, to define, to use the assessments. There are assessments available for each of these skills. So you can leverage the assessments, and instead of designing your own, there is I think, overstated emphasis on wanting to customize everything. But I don't think SMEs have the time, the energy, and the budgets, frankly, to spend so much money when all this work has already happened. So, if that is the message I can give to this group and people who are listening in, I would say a platform, yes, is available with learning resources. But what's the roadmap? Who should learn what? How should I assess them? All these things are available. Currently, they may not be on the platform, but they will be. I think another 2 months from now, the assessments themselves will be on the platform. But even then, please reach out to NASSCOM. We are very happy to help and support anybody who's trying to build a framework on these digital skills. So Mahesh, I will reach out to you for last word on this discussion, because I can already see Akanksha telling me that I need to get off.
Thanks for letting me have the last word. But to summarize what Maulik bhai, Mani sir, and you were also highlighting, and certainly my views, I think SMEs have to grow and are already growing on the digital space. I don't think that we have a choice. And I think there are plenty of opportunities available, and including NASSCOM, there are many avenues for support. I think SMEs are one of the fastest growing industries in our country, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are already on a beautiful trajectory of growth. I think, adding to what Maulik bhai is saying, I think we need to pick up people very early, and that's what China has been doing for the last decade. So if we are picking up people right from their schools, their colleges, getting them digitally fluent, digitally literate, I think they're industry ready by the time they're out into the market. And I think that's a brilliant thought, and that's where we all need to work towards.
And hopefully we will have a lot more unicorns that money is already supporting. So on that happy note, thank you very much for being with me today. It was a great conversation, and I know there's going to be lots more to come.
Thank you so much, friends.
Thank you. Thank you.